welcome to the 2020 Sinclair Tractor Virtual Combine Technology Initiative. I am Brent Pasha, one of the Yield Force agronomists / consultants, and also on part of the ISG team, or Integrated Solutions, dealing with all the precision ag technology as well. Kind of a brief rundown of what we'll be covering here today. Within our technology clinic, we'll be talking about some of the new software updates that John Deere has coming for the Starfire 3000s and 6000 receivers that need to be done. Talking about connected support with these what we call 4G MTGs and some of the programs that are out there that companies are offering up, either a free MTG or free JD Link Connect subscriptions. Then we'll go into some of the newer features on some of the S700 series combines that are coming out in terms of mobile adjust, active vision cameras, active yield, and then ICA2 or integrated combine adjust 2, and then wrap up with just some general questions and answers. And if at any time any of you have any questions, please submit them into the queue, and we'll be more than happy to take those questions and answer them as we go along. So with that, we'll get kind of started here. One of the big things for the Harvest 2020 that we'd like to get started with is, of course, a lot of you pretty well know that the ITC receiver that I have sitting over here will officially no longer work for AutoTrac in February 21 of 2021. Now, these receivers will still actually paint a coverage map for you, they won't provide you any guidance, but they will actually help provide you with a form of a coverage map and things like that. Along those lines, I would not suggest trying to use those use it for like a section control application or anything like that. The variance and the degree of margin of error, what those receivers will be off, will be so much greater than what a Starfire 3000 or a 6000 will be. So with that too, we also have a critical software update that needs to be completed on your Starfire 3000s and 6000s. With John Deere's continually rolling out new technology, and the way that technology is progressing every year, John Deere is trying to continually be on the forefront of that. And with that, with new satellite capabilities, new frequencies coming online and available, providing higher accuracy or higher power with those, John Deere has is going to be rolling in February to a new higher power frequency on some of these newer satellites that we need to therefore update our Starfire 6000s and 3000s to be able to receive that signal. It's not critical that you actually get it done before harvest, but we'd like to try and be ahead of that. So if you've got some downtime here before harvest starts, and you need some help getting those updates, you can either download them yourself from John Deere Stellar Support. Just go out, Google, search Stellar Support, and you'll be able to find those. Otherwise, if you have questions or have issues downloading that, get a hold of one of us at Sinclair Tractor, whether it's your salesman, one of us ISG consultants like myself, or any of the other guys that you'll hear talking about today, and we can assist you guys in getting those receivers updated so that come next spring you won't have any issues with pulling the machines out of the shed and just being able to fire them up and walk on the signal and away you go. So again, it's not critical for this fall, but we'd like to try and be ahead of the game. That way there's no downtime for you guys next spring when it's so critical to be in the field getting that crop in. Next thing we'll hit on, and actually, sorry about that, to finish up, the Starfire 6000 update, the software version that you're going to want to be looking for is the 4.40N software build number, and then for the 3000 it's going to be the 2.80S software build version. And now again, like I said, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us or any of the salesmen. We can help you through it. Moving on into that, some of the things we want to talk about for this fall with the whole COVID pandemic and things like that is what we call connected support or remote support. There are places or people in these times that, you know, don't necessarily want to be around too many people or limit their exposure to so many people, which is totally understandable, and we are definitely taking that to heart here as well. That's why we're doing obviously a virtual combine clinic versus an in-person one at every location. So with that connected support, we have, or what I have here in my hand is what we call a 4G MTG model. It's a modular telematics gateway. More or less, it's a Wi-Fi hotspot that we can actually install in any R series or S series combine that we can then use to do remote support, whether through RDA or remote support, remote display access, or you can actually then use these two to actually stream your data that you're collecting, whether off your planter tractors, your combines, whatever. You can stream these back, send that data back into your My Operations Center account. One of the things that John Deere is running right now is they're running a $300 discount on these. So with new 4G MTG will allow for an actual, will cost you somewhere around $300, not including your Ethernet cables or any of the harnessing to get to hook to your display. Really good deal. Another thing that is out there is Granular. I don't know how many of you actually heard of Granular, but it is a data company that works with a lot of customers that we've known. They are actually offering up a free JD-Link Connect subscription or one free MTG for 4G MTG for each of their customers. All you need to do is get on the Granular's website, enroll in that, and we can walk you through that also, is to try and get you either the JD-Link Connect vouchers that is free for a 1-year JD-Link Connect subscription to go on the MTG to help with the remote display access, the wireless data streaming, things like that, or again for the purchase of an actual 4G MTG for free. Another thing with that is the connected support side that these MTGs provide, in that these MTGs will actually, on your R series tractors and S series combines, will actually send what we call expert alerts. These expert alerts are codes and diagnostics failures that are occurring on the machines that we can actually get notified of at the dealerships ourselves. Each of our service managers are all set up within Sinclair Tractor to see your machines if they are enabled with these MTGs inside of them, and we are actually able to receive diagnostic codes, and then we can actually help either prevent critical breakdowns or failures of components by getting those codes, and then actually using those to help either diagnose what's going on, so we can either have parts ready for you by the time you're ready to shut down for the day, or if it's something that did critically fail, we can actually see what the codes were, try and get parts, and before we even send a technician to the field, to try and cheapen up some of the labor costs and just help out in general. So again, big push with these 4G MTGs. We want to provide the connected support end of this for you guys to try and help out in this pandemic and make sure that it is something that we are trying to provide for our customers the most uptime and during this critical time, in harvest and getting your crop in. So with that, I'll hand it over now to Brian Strasser, who's going to talk about some of the new combine features as far as Operations Center, organization setup, file creations, and then remote combine adjust.
Thank you very much, Brad. So yeah, one of the first things that we're going to do here is we're going to go over the My Operations mobile app, and that is a very nice app to be able to put on your iPad or your phone. And we've got a little video here we're going to show you, and it'll start with how you download it and go through some of the major components of it. So, okay, we are going to talk about My Operations that uses the Operations Center for John Deere. In order to download it, you'll click on the App Store, key in My Operations, search that, and it should be right there. And this is what it looks like. So it's now showing us a satellite view of where we are located. A couple of different things with the app. The arrow in the bottom to the left of the middle will take us to where we are as long as you have location enabled. The little gear is different things that we can see in settings for the maps. And then there is a add flag button. So if you are out scouting a field or something like that, you can hit that, then press anywhere on the screen, and then you can key in some details about that location. Then we can click on the 3 lines icon, and then this pop-up comes. So we got fields. Then you got the equipment that is loaded in your operations center. And then you have flags. So now from this example, I'm gonna go ahead and scroll out and pull up one of my fields. And zoom in. Then this field, if I click on this back field here, then it brings up my spraying map. So it shows you how that was applied. If you click on the thing over there, it tells you your gallons per acre. Click back to scale. You can click this arrow down here that shows you how much you actually sprayed and the total product used and the gallons and everything. If you press that down, you can press the top icon there. Now you have all of your maps that you have loaded into My John Deere. All right. So say for instance, I was harvesting this field and I wanted to see how my corn harvest was when I last did this field in 2018. I can literally pull it up right there and see. Or let's say, hey, we got a variety that's something different. I can pull up my seeding map for 2020 and go right there and show my target varieties. And then it shows you your target varieties and how you apply that. Once again, you can click on your scale to tell you what you did there. This is a very useful tool to be able to see that on the go and check out as it's going, what's going on in your field as you're harvesting. Also, you can pull up all the historical data that you have on that field so that you can always tell what you did with that field and things that you did in the past and how that works now going through things, okay? You can share this information by clicking on the share button right there, or you can even get directions to that field if you have other people that are utilizing your operations center. Another example, I'm going to press the home, then that tells me all the seeding progress I had for this year and dates and everything. And then I can also analyze and click on that. Then it shows me what I've done. So like right here, I've got 2020 application. Let's say for instance, I wanted to see my corn seeding. So I corn seeded in back, Dugvot, and front. And that can tell you your full acres and everything. So this is a very useful tool to be able to see that stuff right away and in the field and analyze things. You also, that with that flag functionality, by hitting the map, you know, you could do a bunch of scouting and moving around and like utilizing this. If I click on that area, then it pulls up that application map that I did last. I can pull it up to this corn seeding map, and there we go. Okay. This is a very useful tool to be able to quickly see your things and quickly see what is going on inside of that field. And actually documenting with the flags and things all season long to see what we did. If you would like to find out more information, please talk to your salesman at your Sinclair location. Thank you. All right, now that you have witness what the operations, My Operations Center app can do for you. It actually has another feature with it. On the S700 combines, we can do remote adjust and with that. So what you could do is you could have the operator run the combine, you can have your iPad or phone walking behind them, looking at things, checking things, and then you can remotely adjust those settings in the combine without having to talk to the operator or anything. So we're going to go ahead and queue up that video so you can check that out too.
Making combine adjustments, you can do that with the My Operations app. So we're going to click on the My Operations app. We have the combine sitting right there. We're going to click on the combine and then hit the arrow up button, and then we are going to go to settings. Okay? Then the settings, this shows you what the current settings are. So I'm going to click on adjust settings. And then I'm going to go ahead and adjust the chaffer, the concave clearance. I'm going to hit send adjustments. Now you will see that it is sent it to the operator. We're waiting on the operator to accept. Now it is applying that adjustment. And once the adjustment has been made, you will see a green check mark on your screen here. There we go. It sent the adjustment. So now it shows you there that the adjustment is 18 on the combine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually close down the sieve and chaffer because we think that's a little too open. We're getting too much trash. So we're going to close those down. Then I'm going to send those adjustments. And then you'll see it's waiting for the operator to accept. As the operator accepts them, then it makes the adjustments. And then I'm going to get the confirmation of the adjustments with the green check marks. That is how you can adjust the settings with the My Operations app.
All right, so now that you have witnessed how powerful that My Operations Center mobile app is and all the wonderful features that John Deere has actually put into it and the powerful tool that it is, it really can enable you to be more productive and do more with your operation. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to any one of us at ISG or even your local Sinclair tractor sales professional, and we certainly can get you some more information and get you set up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Operations Center and create a setup profile for harvest, and then send it down to the display. So it'll show you how to do that. So what you need to do is go to myjohndeere.com, key in your username and password, and then click sign in. After you're signed in here, you will get to the prompt page here, and you can access all of your My John Deere things. Over there on the left hand side, go ahead and click on Operations Center. Then the Operations Center is going to come up, and then we go into the top left icon. I call that the waffle icon. If you're used Setup Builder before, you got the icon there, or you can key in Setup. Go ahead and click on Setup Builder, and it comes up. So the first thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to select your display type. In this example, we're going to go ahead and select Gen 4 or 2630. Then you have to put in a name. So we're going to put in Sinclair Setup. And then in the bottom right hand corner, after we press the Create New, we're going to press Start. So now the first prompt that comes up to you is land. And what you can do, if you have active boundaries and those are the fields that you want, you click on active boundaries, and then it only lists the fields with active boundaries. Okay? Then you select the Select All button up on top and press Next. Now we're going to go ahead and select all the machines that we want. Then don't forget the implements, same icon, and press that. Next. You have to have corn and soybeans at least listed here, at least a single variety. So then I'm just selecting everything I have there. You can include tank mixes if you want, and we hit next. You have to have a operator, and that is me, so I'm selecting that and pressing next. Now this kind of lists up, and you can scroll through this if you want, of everything it's going to create, but then you just go ahead and hit create file. Then you'll see, as it's being created, another file pops up there, and it's building it right now. All right. Then, if you want to download it, you can just click on it, and it downloads it right to the bottom of the screen. Or if you want to use it in a DDM format, you have to go to Files Manager. Go ahead and select the setup file you just created. Click Download. And then you can download it with John Deere Data Manager. I prefer this way because it allows it to go through the Data Manager process. Once you have it downloaded, if this computer had John Deere Data Manager loaded, it would automatically come up, and then you could transfer it right over to the USB stick. Other option is transferring it to the equipment. If you have MTG enabled equipment, you would select it and hit send or transfer. Thank you very much. Okay, so now that you've seen the demonstration of what my John Deere, my operations, and the mobile app can do for you, we had an experience this summer where I went out with a salesman, and we were actually setting somebody up for the first time. So we went to the operations, we loaded all of their data from a competitive machine, and we loaded all that data because they still had it in that data format. So once we loaded that data, then I went through and actually created 3 different user IDs, one for the grandfather, one for the dad, and one for the grandson. And it was actually a pretty powerful experience because once we loaded the app onto their phones and they started looking at the phones, I actually envisioned they were on the other side, and all 3 of them were on their phones looking at the app, and the grandson went to the grandfather and said, hey grandpa, you remember this is where you messed up that one time? And it was actually kind of a cool experience. So it really was a positive experience utilizing the data and engaging everybody with that data. And that's what this really can do for you. Another experience, in the combine, right? You see something this year, gosh, what happened? How did I do this 2 years ago? You certainly can pull it up right on your phone and see that experience right away. Get that immediate feedback. That data actually is to empower you to do more with it. So, that's what it's here for. So we just will utilize the tools that we have, and all this Operations Center and the apps are all completely free. So please engage with any one of your Sinclair Tractor team members, and we'll definitely get it set up for you. So the next part of the show here today, we're going to have Ethan Schmidt talk from our Yield Force team, talk about some settings with Combine and helping with down corn and things with that. So here you go.
And welcome everyone, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Ethan Schmidt, and I'll go over some common as well as maybe some of the overlooked things that you can do to help harvest down corn. Just this week I was up in the Durant area, and it seems like just about everyone in that I-80 corridor and north will have at least some lodged corn to try and get out as best we can. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll get to them in between topics here. But this first slide is a common run screen that you'd see on an S700 combine. The area that I like to point out here in the yellow box is where the default machine settings are displayed. On the next slide, you can see if you hit that button, you get options for threshing conditions as well as cob conditions when you're in corn. Here you can basically tell the combine what conditions you're running in, and it will make some baseline changes to the main settings, such as fan speed, rotor speed, etc. You can still change any of these settings at any time on your own, but picking these options will start you down a path of getting a good clean sample, and you can adjust from there. On the next slide, also on S700 combines, if equipped, would have active vision cameras, and you've got even more options to look at your sample. You've got one for the clean grain elevator and a tailing sample in real time that you can see. That helps make for easy adjustments and verify what you're changing. Is that helping or not? So if you've got those camera systems on your combine, it's an easy way to look. On the next slide, this is a screenshot from the main integrated combine adjustment page. Here's where you can enable all of those automated settings such as auto maintain, active terrain adjustment, which are all great features, as well as Harvest Smart. But also at the bottom in the yellow, you can access your live camera feeds there and choose between the two on which you'd like to see. The next slide is an example of this active vision camera. So that's just a screenshot of what you'd be able to see. Obviously this is wheat, but it takes pictures of the sample and has a built-in computer program that can identify the differences between whole kernels, broken kernels, FM, and more, and tell you how good of a job it's doing. And if you want it to, it will change the combine settings based on what it sees. It's also just a good way for you to look at with your own eyes and see what the machine is giving you for a sample and for what's in your tailings. So those are some things on only available on S700 series combines. The rest of these features I'll go through and options are things you can do on pretty much any combine. So as you can see, we'll go over a lot of settings and features that are pretty much all on or around the corn head itself in this list here. First up is with the gathering chains. These are sometimes the first part of the machine that comes into contact with the plant on its way in. Normally they're installed and aligned so that the teeth are alternating right versus left, as you see in this first picture. In the animation, you can see where it moves the alignment so that those teeth are more opposed from each other as opposed to alternating. Sorry, that's a little confusing. Basically, you're going from alternating teeth left and right to opposed. They're more or less timed together or close to together, and it makes them more aggressive and pulling more material in the head. Please note at the bottom here, do not do this. You can't do this on any of the 700 series corn heads, nor if you have a 600 series, so say a 608C or a 606, 612C, that has been updated recently to the new Romax components. Those chains are already timed to sort of do this already. But if you've got an older head or a 600 that's not still on the original gathering chains and stock rolls, this is possible. If you have questions, again, please ask or ask your harvest expert at your location. Next item, some people call this corn head speed. Most of the time it's backshaft speed. You can see at the bottom of the picture the icon for it on the newer machines on the display. Likely with down corn, your ground speed is going to be lower than if you're in good standing corn. Your head needs to match that change in speed. So you want your gathering chains to be moving backwards in the row unit about the same speed that the machine is moving ahead. If it's too fast, you've got plants kind of whipping around because they're getting jerked around by speedy chains, and if they're too slow, then your material isn't feeding in fast enough, and you'll notice that too. On the next screen, you'll see a screenshot from the Gen 4 displays. If you hit that button with the corn head in the yellow, then it pulls up the corn head controls. If the combine is equipped, you'll see at the bottom you get 4.5 tilt, which I'll go into more detail here in a bit. That's where you'll also get your deck plate spacing and backshaft speed at the bottom there. You can also set certain buttons on your hydro handle to quick access those settings as well. Next up is ear savers in extreme conditions, like it says there. they may prevent corn from feeding into the head. So they would actually be kind of hurting what we're going for here. Basically, just pay attention and see if it looks like they're still doing good and keeping your ears in, or are they preventing what we want to come into the head. So in extreme conditions with down corn where a lot of plant material is coming into the head, you may want to leave them off. Likely if you've got a reel or a crop sweeper on your head, those will overpower these and you wouldn't have much of an issue. But maybe experiment with a row or two, take them off for a little while, or if they're already missing, leave them off for a little while and see if it looks like it's helping versus the rows you got on there. Next up is a pretty common feature, AutoTrac RowSense. Saves operators a ton of stress as well as time. Basically the ability to steer the combine down the rows with feelers. It's on every new corn head lately and can be added to many older heads as well. On the Gen 4 displays, RowSense is already enabled if you've got the premium activation or subscription for mapping and AutoTrac, so it's not an additional cost if you've got a Gen 4. In the screenshot at the bottom, that green icon towards the bottom of the map with the arrows shows that you've got RowSense and it's engaged. And up next, we've got a video that we took of a combine that has a 4.5 tilt of the feeder house. So this video of the combine shows 4.5 tilt capabilities of the machine. It'll be a super helpful feature for getting the corn head at just the right angle to pick up the corn, but also not be too steep or too flat depending on your own crop conditions. On machines without this, you can usually make these adjustments, but that obviously involves getting out of the machine and making those changes with wrenches and by hand. So it's nice on these newer ones. You can just sit in the cab, and on your hydro handle, you can just adjust fore and aft, front and back as much as you want. Back on slide 9 is where I had the screenshot where it shows that angle, actually gives you the number in degrees. It'll tell you the degrees, either positive or negative, that feeder house is tilted forward or back. So just to wrap things up here, this slide is just a list of the main things I've covered. Got a list of common items there, as well as maybe some items that not everybody thinks of. Feel free to check with your harvest experts at your local Sinclair tractor store to get more info, or let us know as well here. And the last slide here, if anybody feels like they still need help deciding on harvest order, you want to harvest the most damaged fields first to try and limit those losses to mold, animals, anything else from ears laying on or close to the ground. So figuring out the difference between snapped off plants, which those will be obvious now that they've had enough time to die, but finding the difference between crimped plants that are just lodged, let us know. Contact one of our yield force agronomists, or any one of us can get us in touch as well. So thanks again, and turn it back over to these guys.
All right, so thank you, Ethan. Again, Ethan was part of our yield force team, in-house agronomists that we have on staff. Just again, kind of talking about, for those of you that were affected by the storms to the north, what all we can try and do to help gather in and help collect some of that down corn, and hopefully makes harvest a little bit easier on you guys. So with that, keep moving into some of the new technology that is on the S700 combines. One, we'll talk about Combine Advisor, Active Yield. We'll run through some of our quick calibrations as to what those need to look like. One, not only for just a normal calibration, but then also for the guys that have the down corn issues, for them to try and use for calibrations and things like that. And then we'll finish up talking with a few of the pips that are available or out for the S700 combines that once you would like you owners to be aware of. That way harvest goes again as seamless as possible for you owners. So with that, get started on talking about ICA2, or the Interactive Combine Adjust. That is on S700 series combines. For those of you that spec those machines with that, we've got a video here that we'll play. It kind of goes through their actual rundown, how to set it, what to expect with it, and for those of you that have S700 series that are going to be using those in that down corn, I think this will be a really great option to help you guys. Just one, keep the combine moving at a decent pace, but also help make adjustments for stuff that be going on behind the scenes that you necessarily don't want to try or are not focused on, other than trying to get the corn into the head and through the combine. So with that, we'll cue up that video for the interactive combine adjust and move on from there.
ICA2 will maintain and monitor machine performance based on operator set harvesting requirements. To access ICA2, first select the menu icon in the bottom right corner. Then select Applications, followed by the Integrated Combine Adjustment 2 icon. Information and features within the ICA2 application contains current harvest settings, harvest priorities, automation status, as well as 4 harvesting automating features, including optimization, Harvest Smart, active terrain adjustment, and auto maintain. Begin with default or custom preset harvest settings for your crop type. Then harvest and assess machine performance. If unsatisfied with harvest results and improvement is desired, utilize the Optimize Performance feature. This feature interacts with the operator to provide recommended machine setting changes to improve performance gaps according to their harvest priorities. For additional information on Optimize Performance feature, see the Go Harvest S700 Interactive Combine Adjust video, or reference the help material within the ICA2 application by pressing the I button in the top menu bar. Other features contained in the ICA2 are Harvest Smart, if equipped, and active terrain adjustment. See the corresponding S700 Go Harvest videos or reference the help material within the ICA2 application by pressing the I button in the top menu bar for more information. The feature that is exclusive to ICA2 is Auto Maintain. Auto Maintain is able to maintain the operator's performance target throughout the day by making adjustments to the threshing speed, threshing clearance, chaffer clearance, sieve clearance, and fan speed automatically. One of the inputs the system uses to determine appropriate harvest settings are the 2 trained active vision cameras located in the clean grain elevator and tailings elevator. To enable the system, select the Auto Maintain On icon. The system will now maintain to the last set performance target identified in the bottom right corner. If the machine performance is unacceptable, make the necessary adjustments or use the Optimize Performance feature. Once satisfied, set a new performance target. Selecting Set Performance Target will allow Auto Maintain to capture the current machine performance. Once targets are set, Auto Maintain will continue to make machine setting adjustments to achieve the operator's desired level of harvest performance throughout the day. To view the active vision cameras, select the Live Camera button. Next, choose the desired camera to view current sample of grain or tailings. If preferred, both cameras can be viewed simultaneously. The active vision cameras perform grain analysis for corn, soybeans, barley, wheat, and canola, which can be utilized by selecting the On button. Reference the grain analysis legend for identifying grain quality and foreign material. Also, the status of the camera lens can be referenced below. Past performance and adjustments for Auto Maintain can be viewed by selecting the History button. The Performance tab shows a graphical timeline for machine performance, loss, and quality. At the top, the machine performance graph can be represented by throughput, productivity, or yield. In the 2 graphs below, the shaded area represents the target performance, while the lines displayed show actual measured performance for loss and quality. The Adjustment tab shows previous Auto Maintain adjustments, followed by the reason for the change and the time it occurred. For fine-tuning the Auto Maintain system, select the area to the right of the On-Off switch. Additional settings include response aggressiveness and sensitivity adjustments for grain loss, broken grain, and foreign material. Response aggressiveness controls how frequently Auto Maintain makes adjustments when issues are present, while sensitivity adjustments controls how fast the system recognizes issues for grain loss, broken grain, or foreign material before making an automatic adjustment. The remaining information in the ICA2 app includes the current settings, priorities, and automation status. The values in the current settings will be changed to blue while ICA2 makes automatic adjustments. Below that are the harvest priorities. Verify the harvest priorities are ranked to your desired harvest operation. If priorities need to be changed, it can be modified by selecting the area. Select the harvest priorities text and choose the item and use the arrow buttons to adjust the order of importance. Once you are finished, press the OK. And finally, the automation status box will indicate to the operator the state of the ICA2 system. Selecting the area will provide additional details for each ICA2 automation system. For additional information about the system and when to make adjustments, reference the help material within the ICA2 application by pressing the I button in the top menu bar. Please note that machine configuration and optionality will determine the user interface for the ICA2 and may be different by machine. This video is intended to be a quick reference for interactive combine adjust on the S700 series combines. For further and more detailed instructions, please consult the operator's manual or contact your John Deere dealer.
Okay, so again, that was just kind of a review of Integrated Combine Advisor 2. Again, for those 700 series combines that have those on there, and those of you that are going to be battling that down corn, I think this is going to be one of the really nice features to have on your combine this year. With that, because like I said, a lot of your focus is going to be on trying to get that corn in the head and just get it into the actual combine itself, and not trying to worry about so much about how the crop's being processed through the combine. So again, interactive combine adjust is one of those things I think is really going to be a really nice feature to have on those combines this year for those people affected with the down corn and the down crop issues. So next thing we'll move into is active yield. There are a few things. Active yield's been out for a couple of years now. Active yield is a retrofittable kit too, also that can go back to the S600 series combines. There is one stipulation on that, and you cannot install active yield on a S660 combine that has manual or just a normal combine hopper. You have to have the folding hopper for installation for S660 to work properly with active yield. So for those of you that do have it on the machines, there are a few updates that we need to talk about for 2020 harvest. There is some new software that we need to, or that has been remotely pushed. John Deere pushed that on Monday, I believe. That is designed specifically for the corn, for when you're harvesting corn, the parameters of what an actual load is accepted under. So with that, if you do see that there's a software download that prompts you for doing a remote software download, please do that. It will help you with the active yield end on your combine. Again, it was only sent to those combines that John Deere knows has active yield installed on them. If you do have active yield and you do not see a software payload come through, please get with one of those Sinclair tractor technicians, or get with us integrated ISG consultants. We can help. Obviously, we can walk you through it and try and get software to you to make sure that that active yield is optimized for you guys' harvest leading into that. With that, I've got a short video here about just active yield, and then we'll circle back and finish out talking about it.
Active Yield provides continuous and automatic calibration of the mass flow sensor through 4 sensors installed in the grain tank. Active Yield is an option that can be added to new machines or as a bundle that can be retrofitted to all S-Series machines. Active Yield requires the use of a Starfire receiver with a TCM, the combine's mass flow sensor and moisture sensor. To pull the whole system together, Active Yield also requires the use of a 2630 or 4600 display. Active Yield is available in 5 supported crops: wheat, barley, canola or rapeseed, soybeans, and corn. If the crop selection is changed to an unsupported crop, the system automatically turns off active yield. When selecting a supported crop type, an active yield screen will appear indicating that the system is available. Active yield provides continuous calibration of the mass flow sensor through load cells installed in the grain tank. Load cells in the grain tank measure the change in weight of grain as the grain tank fills. The software compares the grain tank load cell data to the mass flow sensor data in the clean grain elevator and adjusts the mass flow sensor calibration curve to minimize error. The system starts recording information when the load cells indicate the grain is accumulating in the grain tank. The grain moisture and the force applied to each of the load cells is calculated as the grain tank fills. It then calculates the change in weight across the 3 load cells at their specific assigned locations within the grain tank. This information is compared to data collected during development, and the load is assigned a calibration value. Active yield calibration loads are accepted between an empty grain tank and about 1/3 of a full grain tank. The calibration load will only be accepted if the following parameters are met. The crop was harvested within a consistent crop flow during the load collection. The combine stayed within a 4-degree pitch or roll. This decreases the chance of the grain pile shifting. There were no interruptions during the load collection, such as unloading during the load collection, a grain pile shift, disengaging the separator, or the overall time for the load collection doesn't take longer than 400 seconds. This could be caused by low crop flow or long periods without grain flow. To utilize active yield, first perform a mass flow sensor vibration calibration with an empty grain tank and the header attached. For optimum performance, this should be performed anytime yield monitoring software has been updated and every time the header is removed or installed, especially after road transporting. Second, perform a moisture sensor temperature calibration and apply a moisture sensor correction if needed. Now that the basic calibrations have been completed, the active yield system can be enabled. For machines running a 2630 display, check the box for active yield within the Combine Setup Moisture page. For machines running the 4600 display, within the Machine Calibrations page, select Active Yield and press the On button. Active yield will only be available when one of the 5 supported crops has been selected. While harvesting, active yield will now continually calibrate the yield with every accepted load. The accepted loads or samples counter counts every sample ever accepted. This helps the operator understand if active yield is still accepting loads in the current conditions. The quality indicator is the number of loads the system is actually using for data points. No bars indicates the system is off. 1 bar indicates the system is on, but 0 loads accepted. 2 bars equals 1 load has been accepted. 3 bars equals 3 to 4 loads have been accepted. 4 bars indicates that 5 or more loads have been accepted. The system learns, and as more loads are accepted, the more accurate the system will get. Differences between the combine measured yield and the actual yield can be adjusted by the operator, similar to how the moisture sensor offset works. If a consistent yield discrepancy of 4% or more is noticed, a yield correction percentage can be entered in the active yield screen. Harvest at least 15 accepted active yield loads at a consistent moisture and ground speed to establish a good average before checking the accuracy. The system's accuracy will improve with every load. Adjusting the offset with fewer than 15 loads can create inconsistent field values. Harvest and scale check 5 full grain tank loads and compare the combined yield totals to the scaled weight for the 5 load total. Calculate the difference between combine weights and measured weights as a percentage. Repeat this 3 times and enter the average value of the 3 previous calculated percentages as your yield correction. To enter a correction value on a 2630, press the J button and then enter the offset between the actual measured value and the displayed value on the keyboard. This can be a positive or negative value and needs to be added to any existing offset. Then select Accept. To enter a correction value on a 4600, go to the Active Yield screen and press the Information button. Enter the correct offset between the actual measured value and the displayed value and press OK. If the system yield is low, add a positive offset. If the system yield is high, add a negative offset. If an error in previous calibrations has occurred, the calibrations can be reset to the factory default. This means that all previous calibration loads can be deleted, but will not reset the counter for accepted loads. The factory reset only applies to the active yield system. For troubleshooting accuracy performance, first disable active yield and see if the combine mass flow sensor, moisture sensor yield system is accurate. If not, recalibrate or go to the Ready to Harvest Guide for Yield Accuracy, located within the Go Harvest app or at deere.com. Please note that machine configuration and optionality will determine the user interface for active yield and may be different by machine. This video is intended to be a quick reference for the active yield system on S-Series combines. For further and more detailed instructions, please consult the operator's manual or contact your John Deere dealer.
Okay, so now that you've kind of got an idea of how active yield works and the basic concepts of it, there are a few things that we'd like to consider or have you guys consider for the Harvest 2020 here coming up. With the high moisture corn that we probably will be seeing in some of our earlier, for guys that start earlier, if we're running somewhere around that 22% moisture or higher, our higher moisture or grain moisture with starting in earlier corn or later season corn, we probably want to turn active yield off. Or if you are going to use active yield, expect a higher percentage of error because of the moisture, higher moisture. The reason with that being is the way that the combine, the way that the loads, the corn, the higher moisture corn stacks up in the hopper itself, and it's not getting to the pads in a timely fashion the way it needs to help calculate the way that it puts in the algorithm for calculating the correction that it needs to apply to the calibration curve. So again, if you are running higher moisture corn, again, 22% or above, probably would be a better idea to shut active yield off just in that situation. Just help throw out erroneous readings and stuff like that, and make your calibrations go a lot simpler, a lot easier. Another thing along those lines too is for the guys that have down corn that are going to be combining at a slower speed due to that down corn, we definitely want to turn active yield off at that point. Active yield is set up on a time system, so from the time that it senses crop coming into the machine, it starts a countdown of, I believe it's 400 seconds in order to try and collect an accepted load. Now with the guys being driving slower, trying to collect in as much down corn as they can, we're probably going to be looking at a greater length of time for that, greater length of time in which it'll take to get an accepted load, and therefore with that, John Deere is recommending for the 2020 season to at least shut that off if you're running down corn, because that will definitely affect the calibration and the way the performance issue and the performance of the active yield. So again, active yield, and just a general reminder for those that have active yield is not a load by load. They're not meant for a load by load calibration system. Active yield is meant for just more or less a double verification on a field by field instance. If you are calibrating every field, active yield is just meant for a double verification in terms of that point as an overall field average or overall field calibration is what active yield is meant for. Or it's meant for the producers that don't necessarily like to take the time to calibrate, don't have time to calibrate, they need to keep those machines operating and moving at peak efficiency. Active yield can help with that and help actually generate calibration curves and get the combines closer tuned into what an actual yield would be as they are progressing through the fields and then through the harvest season. So again, just some things to throw out there for the harvest, some tips and tricks for the harvest 2020 season coming up. And moving on from there. So as we've moved on from active yield, going into more just calibrating yield monitors now, pretty much normal general things for those of us that have were not affected by the storms and have your normal or have standing corn and standing crop. Nothing is going to change in the way that we need to calibrate in terms of that way. It's more for the guys that do have the down crop and things like that are going to be running at the slower speeds. We'll want to do what we call a low flow calibration. That is where we either take half of the header width that we normally would combine. So if we have 12 row head, we would knock it down to either a 6 row and just combine 6 rows, or if you want to run a full 12 row head, you're just going to be running at at an extremely slow speed, you know, somewhere between 1.5, maybe 2 miles an hour at the most, 2.5, maybe at the absolute most. And again, that's more for the guys that are going to be combining and experience that down corn to try and calibrate or fine-tune the calibration on those combines. That way it collects better data with that. That low flow calibration tells that moisture sensor, tells the mass flow sensor that, hey, it's going to take a longer period of time and lower flow of the crop coming in through the combine, and it sets a different calibration curve essentially that it reads off of from that point on. So with that, with the down corn and things like that, again, we'll be looking at a low flow calibration to complete your calibrations for your yield monitors. For those of us that didn't get affected by the storm or are lucky enough to still have standing corn, we'll just normal standard calibrations. One thing I would like to mention too, if you do have any questions on calibrating or anything like that, you can go to our Sinclair Tractor webpage, and you can go underneath our Integrated Solutions tab, and underneath the AMS, we have actual scroll down to our resources page right here. We have our handy dandy good to know calibration books, one for the 50, 60s, and 70 series, 50, 60s, and 70 series combines, and we have our S600 series combines, and then we have the S700 series calibration guides along with that. You can print these off. You can either download them on your phone, and the iPad, and your combine, however you want to look at them, to walk you through again how to remind you how to calibrate. Or if you'd like for us to print them off for you, we'll have them at all of our locations that we're capable of easily doing that for you also. So, or just get a hold of one of your salesmen. They can print it off and bring it out to you also. So let us know if we can assist you in any way in that. Okay. And again, those are all on our Sinclair Tractor website. So if you have any questions on that, just go out to sinclairtractor.com, and again, underneath the Integrated Solutions and then the AMS, and then scroll all the way down to the resources, and you'll find those books. Last thing to kind of wrap up with is a couple of pips that John Deere's released for the S700 series combines that we should have hopefully got completed for your guys' combines, for those 700 series combines. If we did not, and we're getting crunched for time and getting ready to go, we'd like to definitely want to get those completed, but a couple of those that there are is, one is we have seen that the active vision cameras that are on your clean grain elevator and then your tailings elevator change, those cameras, sometimes we can experience moisture getting in behind the camera lens on that. If you do run into that situation, John Deere has a pip out there for that we pop off that camera lens, we replace that, we put in a dehiscent gel pack essentially in there that helps take down the water, or remove the water and the moisture that's being observed in the camera lens. And then from there, we reseal that camera lens back up with a silicone gel that should not allow any moisture to continue to seep in there. If you do run into this problem during the middle of harvest, and you want to keep using cameras and stuff like that, or you're relying on those for your integrated combine adjust, what we can do is we can actually swap those cameras out So if it's occurring more on your clean grain elevator chain or a clean grain elevator camera than what it is on your tailings elevator camera, we can swap those cameras out. So bring your tailings elevator camera up to your clean grain elevator and take your clean grain back to your tailings. And that's just a quick and dirty way to keep moving, keep the combine rolling, and keep all the systems on the combine performing. And then again, let us know, or let your local service manager know that we need to get that PIP completed for you guys, either on a rainy day or when you have a slow day and you're not needing to crank through the acres as fast. The last PIP that they have out there is also on those Activision cameras too. They have seen a few instances where the camera faces have actually cracked or broken. That's due in part to some of the hinges that were installed from the factory where the cameras are coming from. With that, John Deere has just a replacement camera lens that we put on there, and then a couple of specs that we need to check out as far as how those lenses are being positioned on there with the hinges, and then the gap that those hinges are being spaced at. So again, if you're seeing that you have a cracked camera lens or something like that, again, let us know. We should have checked those machines over hopefully before preseason to send you guys out there with everything completed. But if something like that does happen, John Deere has a problem and has a solution for those problems. So with that, again, if there are any questions, please submit them into our comments section, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. Otherwise, if we have none, we will conclude today's Combine Technology Clinic and Combine review for the 2020 harvest season. We hope that you all have a safe and productive harvest, and please let Sinclair Tractor know what we can do for you. One last thing I did forget to mention, John Deere has initiated with the storm relief and things like that. John Deere is offering now 120 days, no payments, no interest on parts and service specials to get through September and October, I believe. And that's, we can put parts, service, anything you guys are needing on farm plan for 120 days, no payments, no interest. Again, John Deere's offering this to all of the producers in all of our Sinclair Tractor locations. So just to help with the storm relief or any harvest issues that you guys might run into along the way. So with that, again, thank you for joining us, and have a great day and a great harvest.